few bands on the walk through. Had met a few bands on the walk through. People don't know now, don't talk to.
Time for the bloopers, time for the outtakes.
Okay, so it says it's recording. Hey, you guys, we're gonna have fun with this. We're gonna have a gag reel. This is gonna be funny.
Soldier, this right here.
Get out the way. Pretty boy coming through. Me and my crew, we swagging in the room.
I got this great book called Doing Oral History from my contact on this, Dr. Maxwell at the Citadel. And so I have little excerpts from it that we're going to read today. It's not very long, it's just a little bit. And okay, so oral history is essentially a verbal reminiscence or description of past events or experience, usually recorded in interviews. All right, so that's the point of it. Hey, if this is giving you epilepsy, just look away. And now it's recording, because you can see it counting.
It's over.
And then you...
Was that recording? Like,
yeah.
why?
Alright, so can you tell us where
Is it running?
Yes, sir, it's on.
Oh.
I can cut it. I can cut it. Alright, it's recording.
So you see yourself as like a realist? Yes. A realist.
You're on camera, Christian.
Alright, I was on the bus one day, and this girl told me to move over in my seat. I looked at her like...
If there's a mess up or whatever, it's not a big deal.
I looked at her like...
You're gonna take this camera.
What's the recording button? I mean, how do you...
the red thing right there?
The red?
So when it comes to this controversy, do you feel as though it was respect required or earned? It's earned. It's earned. Why would you say that?
You got like, how have you been determined in the past? You guys hear me? Did you hear that, Jared?
Yes, Coach Mel. Yes,
So if you have, for instance, by discipline...
I see a camera. How you doing? Turn on, turn off. That's how you zoom in. Okay, all right.
I want me a camera now. Because is this recording?
Respect your elders, right? Mm-hmm. Alright, you can't respect every elder out there.
Tell me, how are you doing this fine day?
Doing great.
And what are you doing?
I am about to do a oral history project with Miss Savinsky Smith.
And you're hanging out with who right now?
With the good old Coach Mal.
And you can't respect him if he took your juice, your wallet, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Hey, Sergeant Hernandez.
How are you?
Don't be afraid of the camera.
I don't like being on camera.
The camera. Hide.
Smile. I think she knew we were filming. Claire, come out here and say hello. Hi, Claire. Hiding. Claire's hiding. Oh, we're already recording. Okay, so whenever we are. Yep.
So you have to earn my respect first.
You have to earn your respect first.
Coach Mal's here to help you, right?
Yes.
All right, let's go to the library. Hey, there's Miss Green. Hey, Miss Green.
Librarian.
Our great librarian, media specialist. I have to get it.
This is a little video about unnecessary violence in America. How we should stand up to it.
Like this. This is unnecessary.
I'm giving away Winnie's candy.
Oh. Can I have some? 3, is that all right? 3 is good?
It's cold nuggets.
How do you feel about this project?
About the what?
Why do these 6 words best describe you?
I think
Today is April 13th, 2015. We are currently in the library.
I'm me.
Shut up.
I don't really,
Jared, I'm gonna put you in LT.
No.
Why? Well, who do you want?
my name is Stanislav Watson.
Hello, I know you, Stan.
Why integrity?
Why integrity? It's
That's how I like to live my life. It's like, you know, abstinence, not doing drugs or sex or anything. It's a personal life choice.
Teacher, students, we are going to call y'all need me just to hold all students.
Mr. B,
Oh, Mr. B. Hey, who is that older gentleman from the middle school that was in Vietnam?
Hey, Mr. Walker.
Okay. When were you born?
First of all, ask me my name.
My
name is Mrs. Zabinski Smith.
What are you talking about?
This is a real lockdown for me. So, teacher, we're going to call y'all.
So you see yourself as like a realist? Yes. A realist. A realist.
How do you feel about graduation?
All right, guys, listen. They're telling me I gotta get out of here, but if not, I will get locked in or something. So,
A realist.
but you have to ask questions in a way that allow people to open up. You know what I mean? Yeah, like so. For instance, you wouldn't say like, did you have a good time in the military? You know, that's a yes or no question, right? What would you ask?
How was your experience?
Yeah, tell me about that. What were some examples of leadership you saw when you were overseas? Avoid yes or no questions. Obviously, ask open-ended questions.
Hi, I'm Pedro Amaro, and this is the Military Magnet Academy Veterans Project. I'm here with
Major Thompson.
Okay, so when were you born?
Okay, the reason I said that was...
So, how is this project applying to your life? Is it?
Yeah. Well, your grades, okay, this is how I feel. This is my perspective here. Everybody has an opinion. That's a right of Americans.
Not as far as going on with doing whatever, right?
It's not fun at all. Another technique you might want to use is called the silent question. Anybody ever heard of that?
Awesome.
Like,
What I was doing?
a realist.
Is your valid?
Yes.
You have to send.
Yes, I do. God, I can't even look at this.
Y'all ask some questions that could be easily answered.
Where's y'all's glow sticks? Y'all get your glow sticks out.
Oh, that's where the crazy house is. That's a crazy house. Oh, okay.
I feel as though when you're great, you're not thinking about the future.
Get the fangs, get the fangs.
So I'm not going to be looking forward about what I'm going to be doing next week. What am I going to be doing a month from now? What I'm going to do is going to look at what the 24 hours that I have right here in front of me and how am I going to hit it and do it from the best of my ability.
How do you feel about this project?
About the what?
The project.
I don't like it.
You don't?
No.
Why? Because you have to do Mr. Townsend?
I don't like school.
Oh.
A realist.
That's a crazy house. Oh, okay.
I mean, in today's generation, you just can't make it up anymore.
How about you, Claire?
No,
Stan already asked for it.
Man, you said the person will give the best interview. You know I give the best. I know something that's longer than him.
Yeah, he do.
And that's what that's what the mindset comes in, okay?
What are you talking about?
You gotta have a motive, an initiative. So when you go, it's like in war. It's like my prime example, you know, it's like Vietnam. If you don't have a mission, okay, then you're just all over the place. But if you have an objective and you have a point of where you want to be, then you're focused. And then you move on and you hit what you have. That's what I believe. Okay, see, that's why I look into law enforcement, okay? See,
Cochran, you're in the Explorers, right?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
You're going to be a police officer, you think?
Yeah.
There's this thing in police work. Don't police, when they get up on a crime scene, don't they interview people individually?
Yeah.
Before, instead of just taking a big group story, they don't let witnesses get together and talk about what they saw, right?
Yeah.
Because something happens called like the cohesion of memory. So people's stories start merging together and then they remember things differently.
And they start to believe things that actually didn't happen.
I graduated from that in 1989 and I took on an ambassadorship to
the Rebel Alliance, which for me were
like throwing snakes into the into the.
This is how my mind works, okay?
He's screaming and they're like laughing and it's like what?
I got to see the Clone Wars, you know, so that was a cool experience.
Well, you know, there were just too many beatniks around at the time, and you know, I was beating them up.
All right. But it's important to remember that the narrative is not exclusive to either the interviewee or the interviewer. So, you know, a lot of times the interviewer will take over, and that's all right. But you need to make sure that it's your narrative too. You know what I'm saying? So you're going to want to ask the questions that you thought of.
See, I mean, if I put your welfare ahead of mine, and you flip the script, and then you put your welfare, my welfare ahead of yours, then look at that, we're both coming up.
What did your family think about you? What did your family think about you joining the military?
Oh, they hated it.
They hated it.
You know, they didn't want me gone.
Okay.
And I was like, hey, I want to be in the military, but I also want to go to the Citadel. And I'm a newborn baby, but I'm smart.
What are you even talking about?
They told me they hated it, but then when I left, they had a lot of big parties that I found out about later. So
if I lift you up and you lift me up, we come up together, and therefore we have that teamwork, that connection, that cohesion. That's what comes in.
Like, what did you have any friends or family members that helped you through your times in the military?
I had this one old guy. His name was they called the Wise Old Man.
The Wise Old Man.
Sergeant English. Oh, Sergeant English.
And he used to come to me and give me things. You know, when I was down and when I was hurt, he would give me something to help me.
Okay.
You know, like he might give me, like one time he came in, he gave me a VCR.
Oh, nice.
And I had
I swear he bumped a cigarette off of every single one of us.
Okay. So if you could take one thing from what the Wise Old Man taught you, what would you think that would be?
The answer is never out there.
Right.
The answer is always in here.
Yes.
And if you can learn to look in here, then you got it. That's what the Wise Old Man taught me.
Oh, nice. That's a nice thing. Okay.
My uncle told me that as me because this will be a lot of dumb stuff. Man, we had to do this one time too.
They put you through all kind of special training. You had to do. You had to go across the monkey bars. You had to do jump through the tires. You had to do so many push-ups, so many sit-ups every day. You want to eat lunch. Then you had to walk on your squat down like a duck. Put your hands on your ankles. Put your arms out, quack like a duck, and walk a long distance to get in the mess hall. Had the best food on the base, but you would say you earned you're ready when you got there.
We all had to go stand in front of a tree and yell at the tree for hours and just like yell at the tree as if they were like another soldier. Yeah. So we just sat and was like yelling at the tree, giving them commands.
We should interview Mr. Charles.
Oh yeah.
Thumbs up.
All right, rescue outside. Line up in the blue. Go. 1, 2. Take your stuff.
You know, he's gonna be long-winded. He's probably gonna talk. I think. You know what I mean?
He's gonna talk a lot.
Take your stuff.
Good morning. My name is Cadet Colonel Corey Simmons, and I'm here for the Veterans History Project at the Military Magnet Academy. Today I have with me, sir, can you state your name?
Colonel Isaiah Whaley.
Okay, and today is April 15th, 2015.
You're going to have to ask him a lot of questions and things. But somebody like who's very garrulous, like Mr. Townsend or Colonel Whaley, might just like talk a lot.
Oh, Christian, how are you?
I mean, but I'm more of a flow person. I have some key, like I have in my what is it number 2? In my frontal lobe.
Oh, that's where the crazy house is. That's a crazy house. That's okay.
You have people out there. See if something happens like down the road.
I have some key questions that I can go to if I get trapped. That's the way I'm working.
Good, good.
And he said, Hollis, you know, you need to get back on the pump and quit crying about your wife.
It's cool in the gang if he shows up.
We can just see him.
Him?
We have somebody who doesn't even know what's going on that outside, going up to 200 miles per hour speed, putting their life in danger.
And even if we can just grab him for a minute and be like, hey, Colonel, wait, sit down for just a minute.
But one thing he told me that I always remember is he said, "Hoss, sometimes you gotta recognize a butt whooping."
The outlook of both my civilian life and my military life kind of coincide because I've only had one life.
Interview time. Lala, it's over.
Thank you.
Are you ready for your be in the spotlight? Or it's like for me in my life, I use personal rituals all the time. If there's a Vienna sausage can that I had, I eat all the Vienna sausages and then I drink the juice.
Okay, so whenever you're ready, Brianna, you remember how to say
long answers?
Yeah.
This is a quote I think that links to this. It's by Zhao Ling. It says that if you live in the past, you are depressed. But if you live in the future, you are anxious. But if you live in the present, you are calm. You believe that?
I do believe that.
Who are we paying the $1 to for wearing jeans tomorrow?
Do you do stuff like that or no?
Pretty much the same thing with pickles, I guess.
Okay, so you drink pickle juice. I mean, it's good and good for you. Catherine is Claire's sister, and she's eating her lunch. Hey, where's Chef?
Chef's not here at the moment. We ran him out.
Oh, okay. So y'all got the run of the place?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, y'all hold it down, okay?
Let's hope that we don't have any mess-ups.
I'm Pedro Amaro with the Military Magnet Academy. Start by messed up.
This huge, I mean, just an incredibly huge base. And you wanna take it?
Then my son went to college in Florida, and I left Florida, and I went down there on interviews.
Go ahead, stop me, dog. Stop. Go ahead, stop me, dog.
Hey.
What I was doing? Stop. Oh my God.
But I was able to join with no.
Chanel said chef first.
Hello, my name is Christian Moore, and this is the Military Magnet Academy's Veterans History Project. Today's date is Monday, April 20th, 2015. Can you please give your name for the captain?
Hello, Christian. How are you?
I'm good.
Okay. What else you got? I feel like I answered that question pretty well.
Military Magnet Veterans History Project. My name is Brianna Span. State your name, sir.
Then I was trying desperately to get back in.
Military Magnet Veterans History Project.
Can I write that down?
It is that hard. Just here, just say Veterans History Project, and then say your name, and then add his name.
Okay.
All right, it's rolling. So whenever you guys are ready,
You know my name?
Wait, what's your name?
I looked at her like,
You know my name?
Wait, what's your name?
well prepared interviewer.
Like squirrels are good to run for short bursts. They have a lot of speed and energy. But like running down that gallery with nowhere to go, you ran them down. They just gave out a gas. They would just give up. They would literally like stop and you could just pick them up. You know, because to them it's a long way. You know.
Well, you know, there were just too many beatniks around at the time, and you know, I was beating them up.
All right.
This is your final exam? No? Is it?
You help me, I help you, we both the same. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. Hey, we all good.
Oh. How do you not know this?
Well prepared interviewer.
See, if you're good at cutting grass, you cut the fine that grass, all right?
Hi, my name is Brianna Span.
If I'm good at watering the grass, I'm gonna water the fire of that grass, all right?
I'm literally thinking about having somebody just follow him around with a camera.
Take the book bag, son. Take the book out. Right, well, you see what's there now.
Have somebody just follow him around all day and just see what.
You just have to put him down at that right moment.
Yeah.
The parent he interviewed probably.
Yeah, there must be some kind of crisis or something. There's always something he's doing. Rescuing people or pulling people out of class. I hear him coming.
For the record, today is April 22nd, 23rd, 2015. Not as fun as going home and doing whatever, right?
It's not fun at all.
And then I went down there for 2 years. They shut the program down because of money problems.
So it's all good. Christmas tree farm runner. I ran the Christmas tree farm, the local Christmas tree farm.
what are you even talking about?
You may not remember this, but back then, Christmas It was every month. And so we had the farm.
But then I got this call from our current principal, Mr. Townsend.
We had the farm running 24/7, and people come up to me and say, "Hey, you know, Mr. Mallory, Coach Mal, can I get a Christmas tree?" And I would say, "We're out," and I would be standing in front of a forest of evergreen trees. But I was like that.
I don't look, I mean, you see me. Do I look like I'm not well taken care of?
Back then, you know, we didn't have email. So we just used bottles, like messaging bottles, and just put it up and just kind of floated it down a zip line. And we went through space, and they would get the message.
Why are you touching her?
Yeah.
Don't be. Well, let's keep our body to ourselves. What, you guys folding stuff for today's parade? Why don't we do something fun? I don't know. This is not fun?
We're not allowed to have fun.
We get written out for fun at this meeting.
Flew to Pennsylvania. In the process, I didn't get the job down in Florida.
Like we had a ritual cutting of the Spam. You know, it was like you had to cut the Spam perfectly and slice it, and then like only one person would get like the jelly, clear jelly. That was.
So therefore, the grass is going to grow out to what it can be, and it looks its best.
I can't go around and be doing all that. You know what I mean? I don't have time to go to 15 people and be like, "Hey, do you have journals and things?" You know. Cheers.
Wow, twin hands, really?
Hey, both of you gotta both take a sip. Awesome.
It was called a soda pop message. It was like you get 2 for 1. So.
I just wanted everybody to see you two together at your table.
Florida, my son goes, "Oh, I don't want to go to Florida College now."
All right, good job, Fantas. You'll have twin Fantas. Twins with twin Fantas.
But I was always told that, you know, don't talk back.
I'm gonna put you with LT.
No.
Hey.
Why? Well, who do you? I had 4 interviews scheduled, and maybe a 5th one, and I've only done how many? 2. 1.
I said, "Where do I sign?"
I can't help you, Jared.
So you was gonna do it for Ivory, but you wasn't gonna do it.
Trying to do these interviews has been kind of aggravating, hasn't it? I don't know about so much for you. Did you hear that, Jared?
Yes, Coach Mel. Yes, so bro, you said you clearly said person. It's not about who won. It's about the person who will give you the best.
I know that's true. Hey, Miss Smith. We had to cancel our interview, so it's all good. I don't need Jared anymore.
Hey, why me walk up? Had him at a few bands on the road too. Had him at a few bands on the road too. People don't know now, don't talk to.
How you doing? This is Jared Garrett. I'm here for my Veterans History Project.
Please feel free to contact me whether I'm here or across the United States because you're a part of my brotherhood.
I've known you for a year, but I felt like I know you for my whole life, sir. So I thank you for everything you've done for me, sir.
Thank you.
So, the idea of oral history was put forward, and the idea is that unless it's recorded by somebody, what's going to happen to the information? It's going to be gone. It's going to be gone with the wind, right? You know?
What made you join the Air Force?
Oh, boy, I don't know if I should tell that story. You want the honest story, or you want me to make it just sound good?
The honest story.
Okay. In my days of going to college, I was just having way too much fun. And finally, the fun caught up with me, and I was asked to leave. And I just could not go home and tell my parents, "Hey, I got kicked out of school." So I went home and told my parents, I had a change in my life. I'm going to join the Air Force. And they thought it was a great idea.
Because that was basically my party time for a year.
And did your family support this decision when you went in?
I didn't let them know. I mean, I graduated from high school, and I saw a recruiter, and I asked that Army recruiter what could he do. He said, "I can have you in the military the same day."
And that guy walked me over to the U.S. Air Force office. That started my career in the U.S. Air Force. So that's my take on taking the Air Force. Nobody ever knew that, so now you got it on camera.
So I went home, packed a few things. He came and picked me up, took me to Raleigh, North Carolina. I raised my right hand, and the next day I was reporting to boot camp at Fort Jackson, South Carolina.
So the military I saw as a way out of the ghetto.
I called my mom and dad. about 4 or 5 days later and told her, your son is now a soldier in basic training.
I was with the 5th Mac. It had the name the 5th Mac, but everything was walking.
My mother cried. My daddy was upset.
So, if you had to jump on a helicopter around today, would you jump right out? No, I certainly wouldn't. I certainly wouldn't. My mother used to say to me, son, I don't understand. Was anything wrong with the airplane? And I said, no, mother. And she says, did you didn't like the people around you? I said, no, mother. Then son, explain to me, why would you jump out a perfectly good airplane? And used to say I couldn't explain that to her, but under no circumstances. But I told her, I said, Mom, it's just something you had to do in order to, to appreciate. You just have to do it.
I know who I got. I got first. I got time.
How you doing, First Sergeant?
I'm doing fine. I might open up a business because I like to cook. So,
Like to cook.
There's nothing wrong with being a homemaker. That's a hard job to have.
Call it the sip and dip.
You know, eating corn dogs or whatever you do at the fair.
Where did sip and dip come from?
I say longevity. I've been married for 30 years, and he seems to be pretty happy with me.
It's where on Sundays everybody would come and eat and sip and dip.
There's nothing wrong with being a strong woman. Something wrong with trying to take over, though.
Yeah, it was actually nerve-wracking because, you know, people would talk in their sleeps. You know, they would talk against themselves in their sleep. And so when you would go to the range, you'd be like, these people are mentally unstable. Like, well, you know, you have a weapon in your hand, and you never know. Everybody has a weapon in their hand. So I used to get really nervous when you go on the range because you never know who these people are. And they have live weapons in their hands, and they could just turn on anybody and start shooting that quick.
What are we doing with our oral history project?
Preserving history.
We are preserving something that would otherwise be lost.
And then once again, about the third week, that's when I started doing it with my weapon and rucksack, and I found out that I could, you know, as long as I didn't try to do this, as long as I could do dog paddle, I could do it. So I could go to the end and then come back, you know, and so I did that enough. So when I got down to Ranger School, not gonna believe this now, when I went down to Ranger School, there must have been, oh my goodness, must have been 700-800 men who were going out for Ranger School. And so we went through all the tests. You know, you got to do the physical running test. I made that. Then you got to do the land navigation course. I did that. And then when it came time for swimming, I mean, I saw all these guys who bragged about how good they could swim. Oh man, they were not making it. I said, oh man, I'm not going to do this. And so when it was my time, they put you up on that, you know, the diving board. You have to jump in first. And the first thing I did is I did that. And I just started dog paddling. They smiled. Look at him. He's like a dog, you know. But I did up, down, up, down, up, down. And I did every one. And some of the guys who were strong swimmers, they were going, oh, you know, I couldn't make it. Right out of energy. I had all the energy, and I was one of the ones who made it.
A couple of years before I retired, I had brought my family to one of these little carnivals.
My father was a sharecropper, so we worked hard.
A soldier came up to me with his wife, but she said, I want you to know you changed our lives.
Well, Christian, if you were raised on a farm and your father had tobacco, corn, soybean, cotton, potatoes, and you worked 12 months a year, you would want to go into the military also.
Well, while we were in Iraq, the second time when I was a commander, after 5 o'clock, when my office shut down, I turned it into an internet cafe for them to go online and take classes online. They didn't make anybody do it, but I opened it up because that's where all the computers in the company were. And they did. They were up 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. They were up there taking classes and doing all that. Well, he took advantage of that.
I worked in the U.S. intelligence system. We basically collected intelligence, wrote up reports, and disseminated them to the Joint Chiefs, the White House, whoever needed them.
I remember times where people would come to our house, homeless folks, white and black, and my mother would always, my parents would always treat them the same, offer them a place to stay and food to eat.
I don't still see that in teaching. And I don't blame the people. I think some of it is you don't have the neighborhood schools like you used to. You don't have some of those good old-fashioned neighborhood values like you used to.
Learning to fly an Army helicopter was one of the most fantastic as well as most challenging thing that I've ever learned to do.
And I had taught myself how to swim, dog paddling, good enough to pass the Ranger swim test.
In jump school, you're required to do 5 jumps. And all my 4 previous jumps were piece of cake. Piece of cake. But like anything else, it's that last one. And I experienced a major malfunction.
Take you up all the way to the top of the tower, and then they'll let you go. That's your chute. And it's just like, you're jumping out of a plane. And you have to do, I think, 5 jumps like that, and you have to land successfully because they spend a lot of time on PLFs. And PLFs are parachute landing fall. Because the most important thing about jumping out of an airplane is landing, because if you don't land properly, you're going to break something and you won't be any good. And being an infantryman jumping out of an airplane, as soon as you hit the ground, you got to be prepared to go.
It's a parachute landing fall.
Okay.
That's what you call it.
So you kind of fall on your butt?
Normally you fall, you touch your calf muscle, your thigh muscle, and your buttocks, and your rib cage muscle, okay, as you end up in a prone position with your head up towards your chin to chest, so that you don't hurt your head.
And back then we jumped out of the C-141 and C-130. Those are the 2 planes that we used.
Jumping out of a C-141, which is an Air Force jet.
First time I went up, they got all these paratroopers in the plane. Everybody's scared because this is your first jump. And so when they give you the jump commands, the jump commands are, I forgot I was a jump master, so, get ready, you saw it on TV. Stand up, hook up, shuffle to the door. And then when you get to the door, you got to take that position at the door. Now you think that a man only been on a plane one time, you stand up in that door and you look out. Now can you imagine looking out and seeing that ground? And then he check, go! And then you jump. And then that's when, your canopy opens, and it's one of the most serene feelings you'll ever have.
I actually stepped out of the aircraft a little bit too much angle, and that twisted my body completely 180 degrees, wrapping the suspension lines around the chute, causing the chute not to deploy. And as I was falling in the air, and I think I was about maybe the last man in the stick, I would begin to pass all of my buddies as I was falling, and they were yelling, "Jumper with the malfunction, pull your reserve. Jumper with the malfunction, pull your reserve."
Bottom line is you're trained for it. I mean, we went over that so much that your training takes over.
But the training was so instilled in me, I was going through all my emergency procedures. I didn't even know that I should be scared. I didn't recognize how close I was to the ground or anything. I simply went through my emergency procedures and ended up pulling my reserve chute, deploying it, and then ending up with 2 chutes being deployed properly, and actually walking and not even falling, not doing a PLF as we call it in the Army, but actually walking and touching tippy-toe to the ground, the most softest landing I ever had.
And that's what we try to emphasize here at school. If you do something and you feel really comfortable, the training will take over and you will do it masterfully the way it's supposed to be done. Most of those guys that got on that airplane with me, most of those guys were so scared they closed eyes. And the only thing they did was just took commands. And the training, your adrenaline is so high, but the training that you receive is what takes you through what you have to do. And that's why the Army covers everything you do so many times. Let's go over it and over it and over it and over it. So then when you have to do it, guess what? You do it automatically. You do it, instinctively. You just move. And that's the same way with Ranger training, airborne training, everything over and over again.
Feel like a lot of classified intelligence, or?
Well, I can't really say specifically, but anything that was signals. So, you know, cell phones weren't really big back then, but if somebody had like a mobile phone, we were mostly concerned with foreign collection. Soviet Union, I worked that for about 2 years, and then it collapsed, so we didn't have any anymore. I mostly spent time working against China. But that's what I mean. I didn't do the actual collection that was done by other people. I just took the data, whether it be from our Morse people or our linguists, and then I took that and put it into a report, an all-source report.
What would you say one thing the Army has taught you?
I mean, the normal answer would be, you know, they taught me discipline, they taught me, you know, things like that. But I think a lot of that comes from the individual. I think the person already has to have it. I don't think it's something that, you know, if you're a good person, you're a good person, whether you're in the Army or not. If you are respectful, you're respectful whether you're in the Army or not. It's just, I'm not saying the Army didn't teach me anything, but I think it's just something that you just grow up with and learn from your elders, your parents, your surroundings. Exactly. I don't think it's something. The Army taught me to, you know, do a right face, left face, about face. The Army taught me, you know, how to shoot a weapon. The Army taught me a bunch of things. You know, but the Army taught me how to recruit. The Army taught, you know, but it's just, I think, you know, the typical, you know, loyalty, duty, respect. That's something that you either have or don't have, as whether you're in the military or not. In my opinion, you know, it's just the way I feel. I think if you're a good person and you respect people and you know, it's just you have loyalty, duty, respect, and so forth. If you're not a good person, it doesn't matter if you join the Army or not, you're just not going to have it.
Being an NCO, NCOs make decisions in the Marine Corps, and you stand by those decisions. I felt like in the National Guard, you wasn't allowed to do that. You had to go through up the chain before you made a decision to do anything. And that was pretty difficult for me to adjust to.
So how was the jungle school? The jungle school was, I mean, little sleep.
It was like kind of like a ranger thing?
Yes. Very little sleep, very little food. You learn to let things crawl across you. Oh.
So, how did you feel when all this stuff came out with Snowden and all this?
I think he's a traitor.
Oh, yeah.
I worked actually, and it's funny you should bring that up because I actually worked in Hawaii. I worked at the place he supposedly helped send messages from. I know that he never saw the inside of that building. He worked at Waiwa Field Station, which is a ways away from where the actual intelligence people work. We work in what's called the tunnel, and that's down further. He never went in there. He never saw any intelligence. Can our systems do what he says? Sure, they can do it. Do we collect and have manpower? No. No. But I mean, yeah, sure, we can collect on everything, but that wasn't my job to read anything to do with Americans. And actually, I had friends who did actually sit and listen in on conversations and stuff, and they were always told that if you saw or heard English or an American voice, you just had to turn it off.
Is that right?
You can't collect on American citizens. You have to drop the call, you have to drop the tape, do whatever you gotta do, take the tape off the reel if you're recording, put it in a little envelope, and send it to NSA. You can't do anything, you can sit there and listen in all you want, but you can't really say anything else other than that.
Yeah.
So we were out there on the roads. That was where you were at your, the most risk, is when you're out there on the roads, because the bad guys, they like to put bombs on the side of the road, they like to sit back up on hills and shoot and stuff like that. And that first time we went in, there was no armor on any of the vehicles. Because the very beginning of the conflict, they weren't using bombs. They weren't using roadside bombs. They weren't really fighting much at all. They were just pretty much running away. So at the beginning, we didn't have any armor on any vehicles. We had Humvees with, you know how Jeeps have those soft sides? That's what we had, just like soft-sided Jeeps. So that didn't stop anything. I mean, a kid could throw a rock and hurt you with that. So they used to take the doors off the Humvees, and they would sit sideways like this and ride sideways up the Humvees so they could watch everything. So there would be no doors. Well, then they started using roadside bombs, and they started using all this, and right before we went in, I think it was General Shinseki, it may not have been, said no vehicle will travel into Iraq unless it has armor. So we went through and we took these big pieces of steel and we cut steel plates and we stuck them to all the vehicles. It was it was the roughest looking. It was bad. I mean, it was just all these rough cut steel plates mounted to all these vehicles as kind of a mid-level protection. Now, as that year went on, everything, you know, they started sending supplies and they had these kits that you could mount on that were actual armor plating. And then when I went back in 2007, by then every vehicle was armored. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen armored Humvees, but the window glass is like this thick on them. And now that wasn't perfect protection, because as soon as you find a protection for something, the bad guys find a way to defeat that protection. So it's a kind of an ongoing battle.
So how was drill sergeant school?
Drill sergeant school was it was rough. It was tough. But hey, every day learn something new.
I was like, I'm an athlete drill sergeant. And he was like, you're an individual. I got chewed out about that.
In the military, did you see anyone or came across anyone, do you really think that helped you along the way or gave you some valuable input on how you should be in the military that really helped you?
There's a lot of people.
I actually entered the profession because my mom was a teacher and my mom brought kids home.
One comes to mind is an old first sergeant of mine I had. This guy was unique in that he was, he's from Tennessee. I thought Top was from Tennessee. He was white, and he was what they call a fast track guy because he was a first sergeant as a sergeant first class. Okay.
Okay, my role model that I can tell you about is my mom. My mom didn't finish high school, didn't go to college, but she was able to raise 9 kids.
When I go anywhere, are you Annie Brown's daughter?
And he would tell me what time to go to bed. He would tell me what time to leave work. And he would tell me where in the company I should go and why I should go there.
How's your mom doing? I hadn't seen her in years. She taught me home economics. She taught me to cook, to sew, to do this, do that.
This gentleman taught me that as an officer, there are certain places you should not be. There are certain times that you should not be in the presence of your subordinates, and that regardless of where you are, you're always an officer.
19 grandkids, about 6 of them, and then she's been the head of the house and rock, as we call it, of the family. So my mom.
Just thinking about him, you know, touches my heart, because he might not know it now, but he is the reason for all the success that I've had.
I had a soldier that reached out to me. He's working overseas now with a contract company, and I just feel as though that just goes to, it's just a testament to him, and also the way he respected me enough to look me up, to let me know, Sergeant Hilton, you know, I appreciate everything that you taught me and the long talks that you had with me. I'm doing great. I have a young child on the way. I'm making great money, and if there's anything that I ever could do for you, please let me know. It's not something that you just do or say, you have to live it. And that's just what the military was. It was never a time that any of my battle buddies, co-workers, regardless of what the situation was, that they couldn't call me at any time of night and say, Sergeant Hilton, I'm broke down, I need this, my family needs this. I have a situation back in the States. I may be out of it, maybe sleep, but I'm going to get up and make sure I take care of that situation because that's my brother.
Do you see that a lot in the military, at least in your experience, people going above and beyond the call of duty to help somebody?
Yes, that right there is just a testament of, because you have to trust that person to your left or your right with your life. And if I can't call on someone that I'm supposed to be able to trust with my life, why shouldn't I be able to call on you for $5 for some gas?
I enjoyed my time in the military. If they would let me out of retirement to come back in the military, I would, in a heartbeat, no questions asked. There'd be no questions asked. I would sign up in a heartbeat to go back.
I see that all the time, but just like anywhere else, you have those that don't buy into it. But for the most part, once you build that camaraderie and that brotherhood, you know, it's pretty much it's golden.
Do you see that transitioning into the education world at all? Like the idea of people going above and beyond the call of duty to do things? Or
Yes.
is it not so prevalent?
Well, I'm a first year teacher for the most part, and you have those that live it. Those that very much enjoy their jobs, they do go above and beyond. Those that are still trying to find their way, I'm not sure if they found that niche or that passion about it as if some others have. But I just look at it as, I want to give someone else's child the same that I would want someone to give my child.
Yes, sir.
You can afford to stay home when you know there's work to be done. You can't, every opportunity to show folks that you can perform that job, you have to take advantage of it. And that sometimes that means being at work when you want to be home. Sometimes that means being in the job an hour earlier when you're not required to be there for another hour and a half. Okay? Sometimes that means going into your pocket to buy some resources that the school couldn't afford, so that you can make good on something.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I don't know if they're even taught, you know, to care about the student, the person that's inside the student, as much as they're taught about gathering the data, statistics, and getting the numbers up.
Okay, so how was the transition like from dealing, like, okay, you're coming to military school, so like military's back in your head, but you're also dealing with middle school kids.
Now that was a great transition. That was a great transition because you're used to dealing with soldiers. You tell them what you desire, and they go out and try to achieve it. Well, 11-year-olds and 18-year-olds, or even 17 years old probably, that's a little difficult.
It was different for me because I was a hard-charging platoon sergeant, like to make things happen. So when I got there dealing with these kids, it was different because, hey, I'm thinking I'm still old drill sergeant, and I get there and it's a different atmosphere, so I had to do some readjusting.
When a sergeant first class, when a first sergeant Mitchell walks in the room in the barracks, or everybody's just at parade rest. You'll see if you ever join, you know, everybody's at parade rest. You know, even a sergeant first class. If you're a private in the Army and I walk into your, which I wouldn't, but if you were a male private in the Army and I walked into your room to inspect it, you would just stand like this the whole time until I said otherwise. And then coming here and having to adjust to that, I think the first year or two the first year especially was very difficult because I just wasn't used to, you know, children. I wasn't used to people not doing what I told them. You know, if I told you to do something, they just did it. There was no, you know, disrespect. There was nothing like that. So it was kind of an adjustment, and it took me about a year or so to get it to figure that out.
In the military, and when dealing with students, you want results right now, but you really have to pace yourself and allow kind of things to work out. So you have to apply the principles and just know that it may not be tomorrow, but eventually they'll take effect and eventually there'll be results.
That's a difficult question and answer. You never, in my mind, I'm never proud of something that I have to achieve by endangering my life or have put myself in a position to take someone else's life. So while I wear the combat infantry badge proudly, this is not something I enjoy elaborating on. And sometimes it becomes emotional.
Yes, sir.
So
Bad things that happen, you know, you have people that we'd have to go out and do rescue missions.
I mean, let's just go cut through the chase. Nobody wants to die.
The military is glorified in a lot of ways, you know, but ultimately, what is their job to do? You have to consider that. At the end of the day, you're being trained to kill people.
And worst thing that I ever had out there was an armored personnel carrier, which they made a mistake of leaving their back door open. Sapper threw a satchel charge inside, and literally there wasn't large pieces of anybody inside, and we had to help try to get remains so we could identify them.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Being in combat, you know that that's something that you face every day, and with some of the things that I saw during those trying times, it probably would be my lows.
Yes, sir. You know, I'm talking to a friend of mine also on one mission, and next time we hear shots and I don't hear him talk anymore.
Yes, sir.
I look over and I'm going, what's going on? And he's dead. And really never heard anything. Just heard shots, no moans, no groans, and you know, it wakes you up. It makes you really see what life is all about and how quick everything can end. And like I said, you know, I think of that, my friend right next to me, you know, it's like, why him, not me? You know, that's the biggest. Sometimes you know, as a veteran, you wonder about that. Why did you survive and the guy next to you didn't?
Well, Mr. Sergeant Johnson, this concludes our interview. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your time. Thank you for participating in this interview.
Oh, it was my pleasure. Anything for you. You know I love you.
Love you too. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your service.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving us the time.
Thank you for allowing me. Thank you.
I'd like to say thank you for this beautiful.
Thank you. It's fun. I haven't thought some of these things in years.
Thank you, sir. Everybody answer some of the questions you have.
It could have been better.
Now, as I said, this is very meta because I'm recording us making the video that we're being recorded on.
Yeah. Wait, what? What are you even talking about?
Last 2 minutes of class.
We don't teach you, bro.
Just like chill time right now.
I watched the whole episode. That is.
You didn't do.
Time to go. Yeah.
Hey, no, you still got about a minute.
Diesel's like that, bro. Diesel. Hard money.
Where's the marker in that?
It's hard 99%. No more finesse you, Valerie. I'm sorry.
No, I got 445. No, Super Bowl. Not 634. It's 20 balls I know. It's like a crack 10, 10, 20, 99.
Had them at a few bands on the wall. Watch me, hey, why me walk through? Watch me, hey, why me walk through? Watch me, hey, why me walk through? Had them at a few bands on the walk through. Had them at a few bands on the walk through. People don't know now, don't talk to. Me and Parliament, he a boss too. Send Hey, why me walk through? Had to make a few bands on the walk through. Had to make a few bands on the walk through. People don't know now, don't talk to.
This is where to be at. This is freestyle, you know.
Man, turn this thing off.
Thank
you, sir.